So hey guys, it's Zyant again, and I apologize for the lateness of this video, but today didn't really allow for a midday upload. But I thought it would be interesting to continue my conversation of Final Fantasy. And I mentioned last time that if I looked back at the old Final Fantasies that I loved as a kid, and I really took a long look, I would probably be able to see where the games failed, where there were problems that I simply didn't see as a kid because of, child innocence and the nostalgia factor. And while I could start with Final Fantasy VII, I'd rather start with Final Fantasy VI, because that's sort of what started the transition to modern Final Fantasies, I think. While I know Final Fantasy IV and V had a very good storyline, I never played them. I should, but I never have. And so I'm not going to even consider talking about them, because if I haven't played something or haven't experienced something, I'm not going to try and analyze it. So 6. I think my biggest criticism would be how quickly Kefka escalates in power. At the beginning of the game, when you fight him as a human boss a couple times, he's a strong boss for that point in the game, but he's by no means a challenge. He has medium-level spells, and he can probably kill you in a couple hits if he wanted to. But quickly, he just starts getting extraordinarily powerful. And spoiler alert, by the end of the game, he is, in all actuality, a god. And I feel like for a character like Kefka, whose goal is power by any means, that's the perfect end for him. But Final Fantasy VI, for me, was the simplest of the ones I've played. Like Yahtzee says, the villain is very easy to understand. And while I know that Final Fantasy final bosses, of which Kefka is certainly one, are usually these all-powerful godlike beings, I think that Kefka's rise to prominence is sudden. It's not as bad as Final Fantasy IX's Necron, which I'll get to. But if you're going to have a final boss of his power level, which was over 9,000 a few times over, you're going to have more build-up than Kefka got. Because as I was playing the game, he starts out as just this really crazy evil guy, basically. He poisons an entire fort's water supply because he doesn't want to send troops in. But his primary reason is because he wanted to, because he thought it would be fun to do that. And the second time he makes his big entrance is he's much, much more powerful. Now, not the power level he gets to eventually, but he's powerful, and you fight him, and he's not an easy boss, but he's hard enough. And then you see him a third time, or maybe it was the fourth time, and he's literally killing Espers with the power of his mind. He's not putting any effort into it. He's simply killing them and stealing their stuff. That's the end of it. And earlier in the game, you'd seen him stealing the Esper's essences in a factory run by Sid. And so you get this feeling that he's been doing this for a long time. But as a player, at least for me, when I played it, it was very quick and sudden that he just suddenly has all this power. And now that he has all this power, he's not being particularly conniving with it yet. He doesn't do anything that's particularly evil besides kill a whole bunch of things. You don't get the same level of cruelty with the superpowered but still human Kefka that you get with his completely human or completely godlike self. And I think that's something they should have addressed, is that he should have gotten more twisted as time went on, because by the end of the game, he's a nihilist, essentially, an annihilationist would be a better term for him. And the fact that you don't get that from him until the end, I wanted to see more of that. Now, I could talk about the mechanics and where they fail, I think the battle system was a little clunky sometimes. There were certainly glitches, and I could talk about characters that could have used more development like Mog or Gogo or Umaro. But with a game like Final Fantasy VI, and with a boss as iconic as Kefka, he got enough time on screen that he could have used some more development. As far as, we know he's insane the whole time. I would like to see that insanity go from sort of this idle, evil cruelty to downright maliciousness. And if they'd done that a little better than they had, that would be my Final Fantasy of choice every time. Thanks for watching.